Hello Facebook, what's up? It's Paul Dudley. We were working on a sweep story. My boss Keith had actually brought me this idea about a month ago, and he told me that a third of all online purchases, meaning stuff that you buy on Amazon online or maybe Walmart.com or just really anything online, a third of all that stuff actually gets returned, which is fairly interesting. But in addition to that, the companies, these companies like Amazon or Walmart, instead of actually reselling these returned products as new, they auction them off, like you would do something on eBay, for example, right? Where you can go on and you can bid, and you don't exactly know what you're getting into. So that's sort of the caveat. So Keith had come to me and said, I want you just to buy something. I'll give you, gave me a budget. He gave me a budget of $500 to spend on these auction pallets, they call it, because every time something gets returned, essentially what it does is it gets put into a pallet, and then when the pallet is full, they auction it off. And so there's a couple different websites that do this, very similar to like what they do on eBay. And one that we found that worked pretty well, pretty user-friendly, was a website called Direct Liquidation. And essentially what they do is they organize and they sell these pallets to the highest bidder. So a couple interesting things. This is actually where all this stuff is. We bought a big old pallet, 45 different pieces, and here's an interesting thing. Here's my invoice right here, actually. So you don't, this is the kind of the mystery factor, right? You don't know what you're really getting. You get some vague categories, like for example here, a pallet of 45 pieces. Here are the vague categories: pet toys, pet supplies, camping and hiking, safety clothing and equipment, fishing and wildlife, customer returns, and a few name brands here, but that's it. So you'll notice I actually only paid $75 for this. But there's always a but, right, when you get a good price on something, because you must know that the MSRP on this, all this stuff that we have here, MSRP is about $2,000. We paid 75. But shipping, look at that shipping. $283 just for shipping. So what kind of reason why we wanted to do this story was, so, say you've got a group at home, say maybe you're like a PTA group, or maybe you're a group that's doing some fundraisers. This might be something that you could do to buy some of this stuff, to auction it off. What we're actually gonna do with this stuff when we're all done with the story is we're gonna do a little staff auction where we're just gonna have our staff bid, a couple bucks for what we get in here. And then we're going to give all that money to charity. But we wanted to do this story for you guys to kind of give you an see how this kind of liquidation process works. Pretty user-friendly, I found, but everybody I think is probably pretty interested in what's inside. Sam, we getting any questions so far? Anybody have any interest so far?
What's in there.
All right, just want to know this. Everybody wants to know what's inside. So I will say before we open it, this didn't get shipped directly to us, and there were some hiccups with the shipping. You've got to watch our story tomorrow to find out a little bit more about those hiccups. But we ended up getting a call that they had found the pallet because it was lost for a little while, and we'll have more on that in the story tomorrow. So we just said, let's just go pick this up. So we went to the place in Jefferson to go pick it up, and we picked it up, we found it, and we actually put it in our promo van. It's a big pallet. And so they had to use a forklift to get it in. So we haven't taken it out. You'll notice there's a couple items in there that are kind of just loose leaf, kind of left on the side there. Those were just items that kind of fell out when we were trying to fit it in. So, but I think we should just open it up and see what we got. Again, just very mysterious about what you get for $75, of course, plus the shipping. So let's open it up here and just take a look inside at all this stuff. It's really big. You can see like this goes all the way back. And we'll show you here, Sam, if I'll go around this side, and I'll show you just, how much stuff is in here. So it goes all the way back here. Large, sorry, Sam. Large box back there. So again, we don't know what's going to be in this. We're going to open it up right now, do the big reveal. Some of this stuff, like I had mentioned, was like kind of loose leaf, like this random pet nap. What do they call that, Sam? A pet? Your dog has a pet bed. Pet napping spot. So yeah, let's go ahead and just like take some of this stuff out and give you kind of an idea of what you're going to get on these untested customer returns here. So these were some of these loose leaf things. This is what we looked at earlier. So there's like 12 of these. We call them pet mats. So you can put your dog's bowl or something on there, dog's water bowl, so it doesn't get on the ground. There's about maybe like, I don't know, maybe like a dozen of those in here that were just left out. So we'll throw that on around there. Just a random umbrella, camo, pretty cool. That was in here. else we got? What else we got? This was kind of something, one of those loose leaf things kind of left out there. This was just in an AC charger adapter power supply for Amazon Echo. Very specific, but also ended up in our pallet. Again, these are just returned items. So these were all returned through Amazon, and we were able to buy them for 75 bucks, the whole pallet. I keep mentioning the shipping because that's important. This looks like it's some sort of, what does this look like? Sam, is this a lampshade? I don't know.
A visor for something?
A visor? I have no idea, frankly. Looks like it might be, I don't know if it's broken or what, but looks like some clear, yeah, okay, you know how it said like safety clothing? That was one of the categories. Part of me thinks this might be like the front of a helmet, perhaps? Maybe? I don't know. We'll find out. There's another piece connected to this. So these were just some of the loose leaf things. So I think maybe what we can do is kind of start looking at what's in these boxes here. So what do we got here? Doesn't really have much of a description, but says the company is Best Times. So let's open up this handy dandy box opener. So what are we gonna get in here? Okay, these are some bar stools. It's a bunch of bar stools. See, that was not listed on our invoice, was it, Sam?
No, this is not outdoors equipment or safety gear.
But does it open, right? That might take a little, oh, there we go. So yeah, random bar stool. And it looks like there are like 4 of these total. So again, if you're just joining us on Facebook Live, this was a sweep story that my boss Keith had brought to me, telling us about how online returns, a third of them they get returned. Instead of these large companies trying to resell them as new, they auction them off. And so Keith instructed me to buy some of this stuff. So we are going through it right now to see just what's in here. This just says RAM mounts. Interesting there. What do we got? What do we got here? This is odd. Something covered in bubble wrap. It looks like maybe some sort of art. Go ahead and give this a little cut there. So what is this? Is this a frame, perhaps?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go, frame. So, just a bunch of random stuff. Reason, again, you know, why we were kind of doing this story is to kind of give you guys an idea without having to spend the money if this stuff is good quality. And so far, I think we're seeing everything's in pretty decent shape. So yeah, just a random picture frame there. And you know, the interesting thing, MSRP, $1,900 bucks, I think was the total MSRP here. So, but you can tell, like, look at this. This was clearly like something that was returned, and the box was just falling apart there. That, you know, so we don't know what quality this stuff does, and direct liquidation, the company's actually pretty forward about that they don't always know what the quality is, especially with untested customer returns. So what do we have here? What do you think this is, Sam? This looks like
a camping bed?
A camping bed? Perhaps it could be. Why don't we put it on the ground to open it up? Camping bed. Is that your bet? I'm gonna go something along those lines. So yeah, what do we got?
Ooh.
I have no idea what this is. Is this something auto related? Any one of our viewers have an idea what this is?
It could be some kind of like propane heating unit. You think some lines go in there and...
So, you know, part of the reason why we don't know exactly why a lot of this stuff is because we weren't really told what we were getting. Kind of give you a brief idea. The folks at Direct Liquidation kind of give you some pictures, a few basic pictures. So I knew, here's one thing I knew we were going to get. This is a, they call it the critter cage. It's just an aquarium type thing, but I knew that I did see that picture on our invoice, but that was one of the few ones there. So fairly heavy critter cage here. Let's not break it. There's 2 critter cages here. So if you got reptiles, pretty cool. There's that boy over here. So there's 2 of these. Let's get this guy.
Yeah. Unanimous from Facebook that it is a radiator.
Oh, radiator. Radiator. Yeah. So I mean, I wonder what the MSRP on just the radiator alone. Here's a little fishing pole. This looks like a kid's fishing pole. So again, if you're like maybe part of a PTA group, right, and you wanted to do a fundraiser, and you thought, let's just get a bunch of random stuff, auction it off, see what we can get, you know, maybe this would be a good idea. I don't know. So far, though, everything seems to be in pretty good shape. You just, again, there's the mystery factor. You don't know what you're going to get. This is such an odd, this must be like a kid's fishing pole, right? I don't know. Oh, wait. We'll have to fiddle with that in a minute. I might take that home with me. So here's another critter cage. So we got 2 of those. Do we know anybody here at WWL that has reptiles? Sam?
Eric Paulson's a turtle guy, right?
Eric Paulson's a turtle guy.
Eric Paulson's a turtle guy.
Huh.
Meg Ferris has like a tiny zoo at her house too. She might be into it.
So maybe they will be bidding on that. Again, if you're just joining us, we're doing this for the story, right? To make sure to do this essentially so you guys don't have to, or maybe give you an idea if you do want to, if this seems like a good idea. But in addition to that, we're also going to be doing a little staff auction after this story is all done. We're going to bid off all these items, and we're going to give them to charity, give the money that we collect through charity. This looks interesting here. I have no idea what this. This looks like it says bed frame. And again, did we see anything, Sam, that said bed frame on our invoice?
No.
No.
Nothing furniture-wise.
Nothing furniture-wise, yeah. So yeah, this looks like it's just a generic kind of bed frame here. Doesn't have a size listed, but just says metal folding platform foundation bed frame. So I'm pretty sure we'll trust them that that is in fact a bed frame. You can see, and then this is another reason, you know, like you can't, it's so hard for these companies to take something like this and be like repackage it, do everything in order to sell it as new. So these third-party companies, Amazon makes a deal with them. They just give them this as is. Guys like us buy it, right? So I don't know how successful the companies have been. I know that there are several of these companies that do it. We just found direct liquidation because it just seemed like it was the easiest user-friendly one to use. But there are a couple of different companies that do this. One more box, large box here. Part of me thinks, here's another thing with the packaging, right? Packaging is falling apart. But let's see what this is, because I don't know what this is. What do you think, Sam?
Looks like it could be some like industrial light fixture or something. A frame for something.
I'm only seeing like one metal piece of. So this is probably the first thing that we've seen so far, but I could be wrong. That seems to be missing parts. But again, we haven't set up this, whatever this is, so we don't know for sure. But what do you think this is? Okay, maybe it's supposed to spread out like this. This is just part of it, obviously. But it does look like it's, yeah, these clear, okay, so with this clearly looks like it was something that was used, maybe they tried to put it together, and it was too difficult, so they returned it. That's just my suspicion here, because you can see that everything's open. And it does, yeah, this looks like there's nothing else in here. So that box was pretty much just this random piece and that random piece. So that's our first thing out of this thing that sort of feels like it's not worth anything. So that's about it as far as the boxes are concerned. I will take you over on this side to show you. I will take you over here to show you some of this other stuff that we got. As Sam was showing us the pet bed. This large pillow, or I guess it's a full body contour U pillow. Great for pregnancy. So we do have a couple pregnant coworkers out there, so maybe this will be something that they will bid on.
Hold it there, Paul.
Yeah. If you're also, Neil is here, by the way, one of our tremendously talented photographers. He's helping me with this sweep story. So this is interesting. I wonder what just the MSRP on this alone, because this does seem like it's fairly valuable. And it does seem like it hasn't been opened, which is pretty nice when you're considering a pillow. You don't want it to be opened, right? So that looks like it's pretty good quality right there. Until I threw it over there. This was just kind of a random thing that fell out of here. It's a CoverGirl makeup thing. I know Sam's really into that, so maybe I'll, just kidding. So that was just something that randomly fell out. Pet bed, I was noticing, does sort of have some dirt, so maybe this was used at some point by a pet. But I mean, Sam, you have a dog. You wouldn't feel weird if like another dog was in the bed, right?
The dirtier the better for them.
The dirtier the better,
Honestly,
yeah.
they'll like it more.
So that's fairly interesting. Then there's these tarps, which I felt like I kind of knew that these tarps were coming just because there was that camping supplies category listed on here. So I figured we were going to get some of these tarps, which you can use just to put your tent on and things like that. And I did see these were, in addition to the critter cages, these tents were also listed in the pictures before we bought it. So we did know that we were going to get a bunch of these tarps, which looks like we got 5 total. Yeah, 5 total. Oh, actually, I lied. There is another box here. Huh. Oh, nice. Steam table pans.
Yeah, you always need those.
Yeah. I wonder why somebody decided to return those. You know? Seems like an odd thing to return, right? It does appear, maybe it's open, but the plastic part inside is unopened, so it does look like these have not been used. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if this is like the greatest deal. You can get some wins here. Like, again, we paid $283 for shipping in addition to the $75. So if you can make a profit on this by doing an auction or maybe giving the money to charity, that might be cool. I wonder from a consumer standpoint if it's really the best, sort of just as an individual consumer, would you want to buy a random pallet of customer returns? I don't know. But I will say this, so far of all this all of this product, the quality of this stuff does appear to be, you know, pretty decent. It just, you don't know what you're going to get. So like, do you have a need for, you know, 5 random camping tarts? Do you have a need for 2 umbrellas camo style? Maybe you do. I don't know. Like, here's another thing here. This is a lampshade that is kind of busted, but you could fix it, you know, sort of, maybe. Maybe not.
A little worse for wear.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's so good quality there. Oh, this was something
Can you open this door?
Oh, yeah. Something I thought was fairly interesting when I was picking this stuff up was, here's a comforter. These, you know, if you've ever bought one of these, you know that they can actually, they're not cheap. And this one, though, you can tell that maybe somebody, I don't know if they used it probably, because it does seem like it's packed in there pretty good, but maybe they just bought it and didn't like the color. You know, who knows. But it does appear to be in fairly decent shape there. So that's another thing there. We're getting to the end of our loot here. Oh, this was kind of funny. I think, what do we have here? Let me grab my box cutter. All we know is this is no calories, no sugar, no artificial sweetener. bunch of sodas. Sam, did it say anything about sodas in our
No.
sparkling water in our invoice there? Should I try it?
Yeah, why not?
Maybe not shake it, probably. No, I'm just kidding. Tastes good. So, random sodas in this. Put that down for now. Yes, as I said, we are getting to the end of our loot. If you're just joining us, you may be wondering what we're going to do with all this stuff at the end. We're going to do a staff auction here at WWL, and probably people will just bid like a couple bucks for each one of these things, maybe more. I don't know, we'll see what it gets, and then we're going to give all the money to charity once our story's done. So that's kind of cool. I like Keith's idea on that. All right, what do we got here? This looks like it's
A little, like, space air conditioner or something?
Yeah, I mean, what do we got?
Dehumidifier?
Dehumidifier? See, this seems like it was something that didn't come in the, like maybe it didn't work, maybe it did. It does fit together, so we'd have to plug that in to see if it's working condition, but, you know, fairly decent product right there. That's all you get with it, so. And then it looks like we got one more thing back here. We will see what it is. This says International. I have no idea what this is. What does this look like to you, Sam?
EnviroGuard. I mean, oh, I bet. You think it's one of those full body suits?
Oh yeah, they did say something about safety equipment, right?
Yeah.
So maybe this is that. Do you know where those box cutters went?
Ooh.
My boss was like, do not lose these box cutters. All right. So yeah, it looks like it's maybe some sort of suit? Safety suit?
Or
I mean,
cushions?
cushions?
Maybe it's just all wrapped up. I mean, they're a safety suit. They're going to be disposable. Oh,
What is...
is it all
Oh, they're
caps?
hats? Oh, they're hats! They're...
There you go. Yeah.
Oh my god, I had no
a ton
idea.
of them.
Yeah. So, okay, like, if you... Oh, and by the way, you should know this about direct liquidation. There are sort of more specific... I look ridiculous in this, don't I? There are more specific, like, auctions where you kind of have a better idea of what you're getting. So, like, you could go on one for just electronics, and you might get, like, a bunch of random electronic stuff. Or you could go on one for, like, home and gardening or stuff like that, you know? So there's a couple different categories, and some, I will admit, are a little bit more detailed. But for the sake of this one, we wanted to, you know, specifically focus on the customer returns, especially the untested ones, because it's just funny, you know? Like, you end up with just all sorts of random stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much our loot. Any questions from people, Sam? Anybody, you know, part of a non-profit that's thinking of doing an auction or something? Or anybody have any...
crazy yet, but when can they see the story? When's the story going on air?
I think it's going to air tomorrow at 10 o'clock during our 10 o'clock show. Putting it together tomorrow. There were some hiccups. Before you go on direct liquidation or any of one of these liquidation sites and make your bid, watch our story, because there were some hiccups in the process of getting it shipped to us, not with the company itself that does this, but with the shipping company. Eventually, of course, found it, so it did take a couple of days, though. At one point, we had no idea where the package was. We're calling, and they didn't even know. So that's pretty much it, you know, like... my recommendation is just going through the process. I say, if you're able to pick this up, like if you're able to go and pick it up yourself wherever the distribution company is, you can save yourself a lot of money. Because imagine buying all that we just unwrapped for $75 without paying the shipping. Still a pretty good deal. That MSRP price at about $2,000, you have to take that with a grain of salt, because some of this stuff wasn't in the best shape. But still, their idea of this is being about MSRP about $2,000. So make sure you watch our story tomorrow. If you have any questions, you can follow me on Facebook or Twitter at Paul Dudley News. Shoot me an email, shoot me a message. I'll do my best to answer it. But I hope you've enjoyed this. I felt like it was pretty interesting, so hopefully you guys did too. Again, any questions, you can shoot me a Facebook message. Sam, you got anything else?
That's it.
We got to thank Neil over there, who's working on the story. See you, Neil. And thank you guys for watching. We'll see you later.